Okay, in this lesson we're going to have a look at playing to the chord changes of a 12-bar blues progression. Now this is one of the most common mistakes I hear. You can walk into any bar and hear a pub band or even some famous guitarists that I can hear when they're playing, they don't understand what's going on underneath them, or if they do, they're ignoring it or they're not playing to the chords. And this is actually touching upon quite a vast subject. Once you get into, I mean, I'm by no means a jazz player, but once you get into more jazzy stuff, this kind of thing becomes essential, especially when, you know, there'll be key changes maybe every bar in some instances, where you need to understand the chords and how to play to them. In a blues scenario, it's really important because it will sound nice. There's too many times where you just hear a guitarist that is just in position one of the pentatonic and just whittling away on licks, and yeah, 8 times out of 10 it might sound okay. They might get lucky and land on the right notes, but it will sound a lot more purposeful and a lot nicer if you are playing to the chords and you land on notes of the chords when the chords change. And that's pretty much it. So we need to understand what the chord progression is first of all. Now there's there's a few different types of 12-bar blues, but there's two like most common ones. So I'll just take you through that quickly. We're not going to spend too long on that. I'll give you a PDF with the chords in so that you can learn that in your own time. So I'll just take it through in the key of A. Now this pattern is transposable, so we can learn it in A, and just like the scale shapes, how you can move them around, you can move them around to any key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach an interval name to each note. Okay, so the 12-bar blues is based around the chords 1, 4 and 5. They're known as the primary chords. So in the 12-bar blues, it's the 1 chord, 4 chord and 5 chord. If you learn this terminology, it will make life a lot easier, particularly if you're jamming with other musicians and you know you're talking about different things, or what do we do when it goes to the 4 chord or things like that. You know, learning all the intervals, especially when we come on to what's coming next, when we get on to learning about the mixed Lydian blues and things like that, you need to understand what intervals are. Okay, so if you don't know what intervals are, then look up another video to learn about it. It's all just basically based off the major scale being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the notes in between are either flat 7 or flat 5 or whatever it may be, sharp 4. But look up some videos to learn that, because it's really important to understand intervals. So 12-bar blues, I'll do an example in A. So A would be 1. Now the typical 12-bar blues, you do 4 bars of 1. So whatever the pattern might be, whether you just, or if it's a, doesn't really matter. Now the 1, 4, 5 chords will be A, D, which will be known as 4, and E, which is the 5 chord. 1, 4, 5. Okay, I'll play it through. We're going to start off with 4 bars of 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go to D for 2 bars. Back to A for 2 bars. E for 1 bar. D for 1. And A for 1. E for 1. Now that is the basic 12-bar blues pattern. Now there's a few variations to that. The most common one is where in the first 4 bars of A, you take the second one out and you replace it with a D, and that will sound like this. The first bar is A, second bar would be D, A, A. Yeah, 1, 4, 1, 1. And then the rest is the same. That's the pattern that we're going to use for today's lesson. So that's enough of the chords. Learn that in your own time. So we want to look at now, what can we play over that? Now I've written the most mundane, boring solo ever for you guys to learn for this. But it's just so that you can learn where the root notes are and to get used to timing it landing on the root notes as the chords change. Now this is the most basic form of playing to chord changes. You haven't always got to land on a root note. You can land on another note in the chord. But this is just a nice simple way to get used to playing over the changes, getting the chord progression logged into your head and making it sound good. So I'll play the solo all the way through. Like I said, it's nothing special. It's just to show you some different places to play the root notes. It's actually a really good exercise. Again, it's very boring, but if you want to improve your fretboard knowledge, it's a really good exercise. Over this backing track, you can follow the chords, but each time the chord changes, you play the root note in a different place. So you can just quite simply just do one note. You can hear the changes there just with those notes. And playing the root notes in different places will just help you to learn the fretboard. Again, it's quite boring. You may only need to do it once or twice and then you've got the whole fretboard mapped out and you can get back to shredding, but you'll sound more melodic because you'll be landing on the right notes. Okay, I'll play this solo all the way through first of all and then we'll go through it. Okay, so we start off here in position 1. We bend up the 8th fret to the 10th. We then do a bend and release. Now this is our first change. So the first bar's on the A. Then we slide from 5 to 7, landing on the 7, which is a D note, as the chord changes to D. Then to bring us back down to A, we're going to play the 8th fret on the G, slide down to 7, off to 5, and then land on the A, which is the 7th fret, D string. Okay, all the way through so far. So we've just gone from an A root note here to a D root note to an A root note, following the chords. Okay, the next lick is going to be going back to D again. We're going to start here, we're going to go up into position 2. We're going to hammer 7 onto 9, 8 onto 10 on the B, 8, 10 on the E, but we're going to do a bend and release. Pull off to 8, and then this is going to be the D note that we'll hit as the chord changes back to D. So I'll play it through from the start. Okay, so now we need to do the lick that's going to take us back to A. So we slide up to 12. We go 12, 11, 13. You can pull all of those off. 13th on the B, pull off to 10. 12 on the G, 13 on the B. And there's our A root note for when the chord goes back to A. Now it's worth bearing in mind that this is coming in on the off beat. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So where we landed on the D earlier, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's the timing there. So it's 1 and. That's where you're coming in. That's got us back to A. So now we've got 2 bars of A before we need to go to E. What we're going to do is come up to position 4 and we're going to bend the 15th on the E string up to 17. We then do a bend and release on the same note, pulling off to 12 on the E. We come to the 15th on the B. We do the same, but we pull off to 13. Now is when the chord change comes in. So if I bend the 15th to the 17th on the B here, that's an E note. So that's going to be the one that we're going to aim to hit as the chord changes to E. Okay, we've only got 1 bar on E, so we haven't got much time to play around. So we've bent up to the E already. We're then going to do a bend and release, same as we did before. We're going to come back to the A note here, 14th from the G. And then as it changes to the D, we want to aim for a D note. So we're going to hammer on 13 to 15 on the B. So if I go from the A before, that's into E. And there's to D. Okay, now we've only got 1 bar on D before we go back to A. I'll do 3 bends on the 15th to 17th. On the last one will be a bend and release. Then to finish it off, I hit 2 A notes, 14th fret on the G string. Then on the turnaround where it goes to the 5 chord again, the E, I'm going to do this like bluesy double stop thing. So I slide up to 9 on the G, and I'll be put it with my 3rd finger, and my 2nd finger will be playing the B string on the 8th fret. We do that 4 times. You can let those ring into one another as well. And we finish off by going to the A note, 10th fret there, and that would be the start of the next 12 bar cycle. I'll play through the whole solo now, slowly. Like I said, it's not an award-winning solo. It's not supposed to be some amazing sounding thing. It's just so that you can get the idea of playing to the changes into your head. If you found that super easy, then try to take it a lot further, moving through more of the positions and playing normally, playing more licks, playing some fast runs, whatever else. It's a very important skill. Like I say, I've done a very simple, boring thing for you to learn, but it's just so you can map it out and then do your own thing with it, because that's what the blues is about. It's not about learning a ton of licks. It's about finding your own way, finding your own voice, and putting your own feeling, your own expression into things. Have fun with that. Next lesson we're going to have a look at something called the Mixolydian blues, and this is Again, something that gets skipped over a lot by guitarists, but it's playing to dominant 7 chords, which are essentially major in tonality. So we need to make some adjustments to the minor scale to make it fit. Have fun, I'll see you next time.